So on the other program when we were doing does a song ever shout your name out? This is not to do with the football one, but we were doing there's a song ever shout your name out, and Daryl Tomlin got in touch, and said I could never understand at 14 why the Clash had singled me out, why Joe Strummer was pretending to be me. He said this is Daryl Tomlin speaking in complete control. I said no, he don't. He said he does. He says this is Daryl Tomlin speaking. So I said no, he doesn't. He said well play it.
Go on,
I said why would he do that? He said well okay, so let's just try this. Rampant egomania, Daryl. He doesn't say Daryl Tomlin, does he? It's Daryl Tomlin speaking. I'm sorry, I had to apologise to the fellow. It's nothing at all. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. You catch us mid-mood after 25 or 6 to 4, which always will be our device and our rallying cry. I'm Danny Baker.
And I'm Danny Kelly.
Sometimes right.
Sometimes wrong.
But always certain. How about that? And welcome to the Pleasure Dome, everyone. It's always trepidatious. This is that difficult second album. It's show 10, but last week's show being any good really puts the pressure on us again.
Yeah.
I said we should just coast through it and just run it again, saying let's enjoy it. Highlights from last week. But apparently, we've got so much stuff this week that one of the great highlights that have to stand down till next week. Yes, I'm starting this week's show by saying listen to next week's one, where there's a version of Bohemian Rhapsody that if I'd have brought the karaoke version, it apparently takes the R off the dump, doesn't it?
Well, you know, we've been doing this thing of trying to put players' names to songs. Yeah. Somebody who shall remain nameless for now has done the entire... I mean, I have no truck with the Bohemian Rhapsody myself,
no.
But I think I might be about to revise my opinion of that song based on what I've seen already.
Well, and then that's next week. Now all we've got to do is carve out 50 minutes.
Pretty much done now.
50 minutes, that's it. Okay, so where have we been? What's that? This is being recorded on the day. Is it the Austria friendly today? I don't say that to be. Yeah, the Austria friendly.
Yeah.
No one's.
The Anschluss friendly.
The Anschluss friendly, yes. That's the day. So It
was brilliant to see that Sky though made no effort to update our view of Austrians. All I've seen so far in the coverage is snow and people eating hot dogs.
Is it Schnee and hot dogs? Schnee and the kraut, the sauerkraut. Okay, so all right. Well, welcome aboard, everyone. We've got stacks to get through. In the last couple of 3 weeks, we really haven't got round to some of the world tour stuff. We've been busy entertaining ourselves, Danny, and I hope
pretty much.
People are otherwise as we go. But today we are going to try and get round to many of the doors we have opened, and you've been good enough to pile in through.
We'll be going through some of the things that we have been doing, i.e. some amazing additions to our stadium, built one piece at a time, Johnny Cash style. Stuff coming in, including just bear with this, including what wildlife we should have and why we have to include the Wembley Arch in the stadium.
All right, why we have to? Because it was supposed to be a goofy place that just.
Believe me, these will both add to the goofiness. Don't worry about that. Yeah, indeed.
Pieces. All right.
We're also going to be doing all the other things that we haven't done. I suppose we've given up on Rowan and Martin, have we?
No, Rowan and Martin's good to go.
Wayne Rooney, meet George Clooney, Wayne Rooney. I would say Julio Arca, Sarah Jessica Parker.
I'm going to put the all yours.
These are mine, yeah, these are mine.
They're all yours, okay, because last week I said there's not enough just rickety old thin jokes. It's all very well for what's on Saturday morning that Tim used to do.
Soccer AM.
Soccer Superstore. Anyway, so there's
Soccer Superstore.
We know who you are.
You're no good no more.
So it's all very well them doing all the sophisticated stuff, but where are the Trevor Steele jokes of old? Last week is Ralph Coates related to Kenny Jackett. Oh, that's the kind of joke people think they're too grown up to say anymore. And we've got our little Rona Martin's laughing thing going on with it. So tell us about it, Dan.
I just said a few here, yeah.
Okay, here, let me put it won't be amusing unless people know it's amusing, and they know it's amusing because there's funny music underneath. What have we got?
Wayne Rooney, meet George Clooney, Wayne Rooney.
Very good.
Jodie Lescott, John Prescott, Jodie Lescott. Julio Arca, Sarah Jessica Parker, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Julio Arca. John Collins, meet Joan Collins. Joan Collins is John Collins. Oh, here's Collins John. Collins John, meet Joan Collins with John Collins. And the one for particular satisfaction, John Obi Mikel, meet Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's right, look at this. And then, of course,
You're better at them, actually,
everyone starts gathering round. Well, come on, everyone. Wayne Rooney, George Clooney, Wayne Rooney, John Lescott, John Prescott, Wayne Rooney, George Clooney, John Lescott,
Jolien
Lescott, do apologize. John Collins, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Julia Aria, Wayne Rooney, George Clooney, and etc. Who can send us the longest chain of people that are damn good to introduce to each other? Brian, Jimmy Greaves, meet Vandella-less Martha Reed. David Jensen, fugitive, it's got brackets. David Jensen, Alan Hansen, David Jensen, Dennis Law, John Thor, Dennis Law, Peter Schmeichel, George Michael, Peter Nat Lofthouse, Amy Winehouse.
Lots of people sending him in with no footballers in. Come on, try it at least to keep up.
Lee Dixon. How old are our audience? Lee Dixon, David Nixon, Lee Dixon.
Not even Richard Nixon.
Kieran Dyer, Derek Geiler, Tommy Lawton, Beth Alton, Tommy Lawton, all from Brian in Broxbourne, and etc.
The great man from Broxbourne. Brilliant.
Right, well, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. This has been but that's a huge spot now with that music underneath it. And it flies. What's the first?
Among the other things that we're going to do, which haven't already been on, I'm just going to warn you. It may be an old sore, but I believe we can start again down the path of most disappointing celebrity at a celebrity match.
Oh, okay. Very old sores are us.
Superb. I know that one. I'm showing it to Phil. This is just one of the great. A very short, very simple thing that causes your eyebrows to go, what?
Okay.
And I'll also be promising you. Believe it or not, we're going to return to pies because someone has managed to incorporate pies and cuckoos, our new thing.
Oh, really? I'll get the cuckoos ready. So, hang on. Ian Betts gets in touch. Hey, folks. You're a great crowd. Have you ever noticed? Is Lucas Neal related to Peter Crouch? And if he were ever to play against his sister, would Robbie Fowler? Is Robert Green or did Kieran Dyer? Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to have to put out a mega mix of all of this at the end of it.
There's going to be it's good.
We've got something here.
There's going to be quite an ornithological bent to some of the things I'm reading out today. So let's start from the top. The room is not. We're not alone today, as you see. There's two gents from.
Look at the Red Bull he's bought me.
Yeah, you want the big Red Bull, don't you?
Look at this. When did they come up with that?
What?
Look at that. Properly powered. That could heat the Albert Hall for a month. Look at the size of that Red Bull I've been bought. Everyone, my meat. Okay, go on. What have you got over there?
No, just the two chaps who are in with us today are doing an interview. What's the magazine called? Very briefly, where is it? We haven't got the magazine. Brilliant, great start.
What is it?
One of them is
what is it?
It's Open Goal, right?
Open Goal magazine.
Yeah, but one of them is a photographer, and has just taken me this fantastic picture taken at last week's decidedly tetchy northeast derby, the Tyne Wear derby, I think they call it.
Of course, the Tyne Wear
Sunderland against Newcastle. I've got a picture in my hand. I'll give it to you in 1 second. There's a chap who's wearing, I have to say, one of those all-purpose outdoor coats suggest burglary and dogging to me. And over his shoulder, he has got a Sunderland tie.
Any more tie?
And hanging. Wait for it, Dan, as that's all coming out.
Sorry. I've just had 4 pints of Red Bull.
And it's no point because you won't be hanging from the Sunderland tie. Given that Newcastle are the Magpies, any more magpie? Hanging from a tie, a dead bird.
Oh, look at that! Oh, yeah.
There's commitment to the cause.
It's somebody on their way into the derby with a strangled magpie.
Now the lads here tell me they followed him in, and he got through the security. Of course, you can't take in anything to eat or a breast pump or anything like that, but you can take a dead bird hanging from a tie. The
most provocative symbol your opposition could possibly react to.
And indeed, of course, a dead bird itself, maybe it's ridden with bird flu. Who knows? It's sat next to the family enclosure in his big all-purpose dogging coat with that magpie over his shoulder.
Isn't there a tradition of this? Didn't somebody chuck a cockerel on at Tottenham, or was it a live one was thrown onto the pitch at Tottenham?
Well, famously, since we are having the ornithological bent, at Blackpool in the 50s and 60s, some ducks that had been painted tangerine used to be put onto the pitch before the start. And better still, I was doing this on another radio show.
Painted tangerine?
They were painted tangerine.
Well done, everyone.
And during the course of the show where that was revealed, a familiar voice rang up and said, "I'm ashamed to tell you that I was one of the young men in Blackpool in the 1950s and 60s who actually painted these poor animals tangerine. It was Graham Kelly, then head of the FA.
Was he?
Absolutely.
What do you mean ashamed? He's trying to get admiration by
I don't think Brian Barwick could paint an animal, would he? No way.
And the dead sheep at Derby, did somebody throw that on him, I think, at the KLF?
No, I threw the dead sheep into the foyer.
The KLF thing, that was that. But well, of course, that door is always open, the connection between, the animal kingdom and the football kingdom.
Let me just want to get the show off to a real belting start. This is from Richard Mander. You won't know where this is going until it gets there. It's very short. Had about 10 years ago, still makes me laugh every time I think about it. I was thanks Richard for this. I was standing in the queue at the post office and noticed a large woman in front of me wearing a green headscarf. I knew there was something odd about the material, but I couldn't put my finger on it. It seemed to stir something deep in my memory of my childhood. When she reached the part of the queue, I love the fact that they're coming together now, the way the post office queues go up and down. When she reached the part of the queue where we were facing each other, I could see the front of the scarf and the neat white lines of a large D on its side. I peered closer as the penny started to drop and realised her headscarf was made from a Subbuteo pitch.
I would know. You're quite right. I would not.
My eyes went perfectly folded with the D on the edge of the penalty area, framing her furrowed brow. She had made a headscarf from
that
a
is something.
pitch.
That is.
Richard Mander, thank you for that, man.
Isn't that what mobile phones have cameras in them for, Richard? Of course, it's a great contact, but surely
10 years ago, he said.
Oh, 10 years ago.
It would have had to, a mobile phone in those days with a camera, it would have been the size of a television, wouldn't it?
You've let him off the hook far too easy.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Here's our good friend Mark. Mark.
Hi there.
Ah, yeah, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, Mark. I'm full of Red Bull. What's the story, Mark?
I'm just full of bull.
What have you got for us, Mark? What's the story?
Well, I was actually I wanted to offer you St Andrews, but then actually I thought no, maybe some parts of St Andrews would fit your hybrid.
Hybrid stadium, which is coming on a treat.
Not confused with hybrid. This is the hybrid
exactly.
station,
I'm not sure Andrews, as in the old liver salts, because I don't know what a potent brew that would be if you scooped some Andrews into a Red Bull.
Well, I think about very fine rocket fuel.
I think you might die and they'd have to beat your liver to death with a square pole. So there you've got something in St Andrews you think might help our unique hybrid stadium.
Yes, and basically I offered up two potentials. One probably about 4 years ago when Birmingham were flying high in the Premiership at around about 16th.
Yeah.
There was an announcement came out in the programme that we were going to get a new scoreboard. Mm-hmm. It's something we don't actually possess or anything, and it was identified where I sit in the Tilton corner. It was literally right the other corner down at the railway end. Yeah. They were going to put this big screen. Now I've been going there every week expecting to see this big screen, and there is still a big gap there. Yeah. So what I thought I'd offer you is actually the space where the screen would be.
Oh, I see. Now, when you say there's a big gap there, when you say there's a huge gap there, do you mean they've dug the footings or whatever they call them? There's actually some kind of trench, or it's still just chalk marks?
It's still just chalk marks. It's basically there is nothing there apart from the turnstiles that sit underneath it.
Well, this is very handy for us, because we already have the scoreboard from Southend, if you remember. Yeah. Which has itself been taken from the Curse Hall dance hall.
It has,
and it says "Min, you," and all.
But what a beautiful thing we're being offered here, because the other end of the pitch we can just have. And Birmingham went no further with it. Do you think they budgeted for it? Do you think that's what they did, or it just never went any further than the planning stage?
I think it was one of those things that got announced, and then we didn't actually go above 16th, and they then got relegated, and everything sort of changed.
Well, but my friend, bless you, because now we realise you can do stuff like that. What do we want in this studio then? What would be a great thing to have if you can just chalk them out? What do we want?
Well,
let's have should we put a bar over here? Give me the chalk over. Hang on, put a bar. 1 second, we'll be right back with it. Put a bar over here. Okay.
Yeah, some kind of bowling alley would be nice down the far side here. Yeah.
Bowling alley, bowling over here. Yeah. Let's have an attractive blonde assistant standing.
Just outline her there. Yeah.
About here, and let's have a little room where we do all our jokes and say Peter Crouch, is he related to, who was it again? Who was he related to again? Peter Crouch is it, who did you say Peter Crouch? Lucas Neal. Sorry. Lucas Neal, of course it is. Well, thank you anything else you want to add, my friend? Because now we've got
Robert Green, or did Kieran Dyer?
Or did Kieran Dyer, of course it is. And anything else you want to tell us, my friend?
Already that feels like my own joke, how lovely.
Hang on, the bowling alley's open. What happened there?
It's the magic of radio.
So, anything else you want to tell us?
Yes, basically, the second thing I wanted to offer up was the TV shed.
What's the TV shed?
It's already a great sounding thing for a man, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Mark out the TV shed immediately, Dan. Hang on a second. Sorry, mate. We got to.
I can't switch the sound effects as quick as that. Go on, tell us what the TV shed is.
Okay, at the Tilton end, there is this sort of, I don't know, it's a brick building with a concrete roof. It actually looks just like an old air raid shelter.
I see.
And on top of it, they actually place a green hardboard or plywood building with plexiglass, which is actually where Cuckoo sits when he's doing... Yeah,
okay. I often wonder about the outside, because people ignore them. People always used to stand in the back, waving their arms and getting on their mobiles and saying in it, but they're now so commonplace or so camouflaged that people tend not to look in them.
I mean, the fancier grounds, what it's saying here, the fancier grounds have proper TV studios. I know the one at Spurs is built like a space station.
Of course.
But they've got a prefabricated plexiglass building for Richard Keys and David.
But here's the thing. I mean, obviously, as a supporter yourself, you think, we really don't think we're going to be hanging around in the top flight long, do we, with all these kind of temporary fixings? It's like being engaged, but you never expect to get married, do you? Tell us again exactly where it is in the ground.
Well, basically, it's the Tilton. I sit in the Tilton corner, which is on the Cattle Street side.
Yeah.
The opposite side from that, which is down by the main stand. Do you remember a couple of years ago when there was a bit of wind, every time there's a bit of wind, a bit of the roof of the main stand flies off?
Oh, absolutely, yes, it can. And they always get that shot just waiting for it to fly off. Yeah.
And it's basically next to that. So it's got a good view. It's just that the interesting thing is when they put the TV lights on half time and they're doing their talk to camera.
Yeah.
Basically, all you can see is this the lights flickering as the plexiglass blows in the wind.
I think I have seen that. I think I do remember that. And you can hear also, as people are on their way, it kind of shakes the room, doesn't it, a bit?
It does. It's got a lovely... Externally, it's a beautiful green. I don't know quite why they've done that. I mean, there was a period last season, for instance, where one of the things that you may want to actually get your listeners to sort of ask for is half-time entertainment.
Well, because it's only every now and then you're brought up with a jolt, remembering when Sky used to do the firework display at the end of games and have plenty of that going on. They used to. My friend was the person who went around Southampton on the very first game I think they covered and had to knock on people's doors and ask them if they can set the fireworks in their back gardens, because to be at the right trajectory over the stairs,
they need to be further back.
They need to be further back, and they were going around Southampton saying, "Excuse me, I'm Sky Television. I wonder if we could use your garden. Here's 50 quid." There are rockets going. What do you say about half-time entertainment?
Well, last year, half-time entertainment was called the Shed. And basically, what we had was the DIY partner for the championship is Wix.
Yeah.
And what they used to do is they used to bring this shed on with no roof. And the game was to basically you had 3 kids who have got to chip the ball into the shed.
Oh, do you know what? I'm all for it. And how often was that achieved?
Not that often.
No.
I mean, you got 1 point for hitting the shed, and 3 points for getting it in the shed.
Yeah, well, I've got to say, in everyone's back garden, that's exactly the sort of thing you do, I think.
But just for those who don't know as well, the ability of clubs, despite their multi-million-pound sponsorships, to reduce the half-time entertainment to fit in with their sponsors.
Yeah, true enough.
Before Spurs took the Mansion Shilling, they were sponsored, if you remember, by Thompson Holiday.
Yeah.
And the holiday theme was kept up at half-time. There was a competition to win a holiday. One Spurs fan, usually a man about my build in a very tight-fitting shirt, will be dragged out of the crowd, and one member of the opposition fans will be dragged out of the crowd. They will be given a ball on the halfway line, and all they had to do was to score a goal past the Spurs mascot, Cocky the Cockerel, right? Okay?
Yeah.
I think he's called Chirpy. I'm the only one person who calls him Cocky, actually. He's called Chirpy, yeah. The only obstacle between you and said goal and the goalkeeper were 2 deck chairs they put out on the pitch, and you had to dribble through 2 deck chairs. It was the most astonishingly inept piece of PR I've ever seen.
No, but of course Thompson written down them. But I didn't know that Wicks...
No, just two deck chairs.
I didn't know the Wicks there, Birmingham and Wicks. Well, the shed thing's good. Let's have one. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Give me a minute. I'm right on this. Okay.
Alex tells me that Wicks also do a game of 2 baths at half time.
2 baths? What a terrific... I had no idea that invention... Tell us the other extreme ways that your club has bent over backwards to...
Yeah, they've bent over frontwards.
Or not bent over very much to incorporate your sponsors, please. This is... what's this? It says here... it gives us Roy Evans' full name. We remember, we've done this many times. Stuart in Wolverhampton says, a quick one. And a subject I remember hearing way back when, but Liverpool and Swindon Town manager Roy Evans Full name, R.Q.E. Evans. Q. His name is Roy Quintin Echlin. E-H-L-E-C-H-L-I-M Evans. Nothing big about it, he said, but true story. Thank you very much, Stuart Davis in Wolverhampton. R.Q.E. Evans.
And further information, update on the Wick situation. That game with the shed is called On Me Shed Son.
Very good. On Me Shed Son.
One more stadium one while we're in the mood, because I want to hand you this. This is from Doug Holmes, who sent us a picture. I've forgotten about this at Vicarage Road. Watford recently, a few seasons ago, built their executive boxes absolutely separate from the rest of the pitch in one of those open corners where the two stands don't meet.
Yes, of course.
So these are definitely going to be our executive boxes in our new stadium. Let me just hand them to you.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to hand you a piece of paper with Doug's joke about them. Here you go.
Okay, what's executive? Oh, isn't it awful? It is just awful. There's no way of saying what absolutely bolted on big old television.
It is several rows of lit up executive boxes completely on their own.
But they're completely on their own. They are separate. What's he written? They are separated from the rest. Yes, it does. It looks exactly
the set
of Celebrity Squares. That's exactly what it looks like.
That's our executive
William
boxes.
Rushton. Can I just say here, I can bona fide this because I, twice in my career, was the middle square on Celebrity Squares. When Bob did it, I was middle square. And when you know the stars on the wane, the third time I went to be on Celebrity Squares, bottom right-hand corner. You'll be bottom right today, Dan. Oh, yeah, I used to be middle. No, I'm afraid Willie Rushton's doing middle now. But I was that. Thank you. Exactly what our executive boxes are going to be. Here's a longer one, then.
Let's have a disappointment. Let's have this. This is a very nice email from Gary Storer, who has given up on the game of football, but has come back to the podcast. And he says that he's treating us like an old lover. But you have also opened up old wounds. He says, with talk of celebrities at football. Yeah. And this is the old wound. Me and my dad at Hastings United to watch Hastings United play a celebrity team. We've been promised Pele, George Best, Dennis Law, Peter Purvis, Dick Emery, Cilla Black, John Wayne out of the Tremolos, not the real John Wayne, and Rupert Bear, all going to roll out to teach our boys a lesson. Yeah. Well, at least that's what it said on the posters. Let's just go through that again. Pele, George Best, Dennis Law, Peter Purvis, Dick Emery, Cilla Black, the Tremolos, John Wayne, and Rupert the Bear.
Just before you continue, if anyone can write that down, play it back and write it down, what would the lineup have been there? Who would have been where? I mean, how would that have formed the team?
Well, they're going to have to play Dennis Law and Cilla Black up front. I don't know why. I just think they will.
Well, Pele running off of them?
He'll be playing in the hole, won't he? Well, this is what it said in the posters. But for the third time in the early 70s, the ground PA coughed until and sure enough, the announcer read out one by one the apologies from the celebs.
All right.
My disappointment rolled down my cheeks and no doubt screamed from Dad's anorexic wallet. Wait. What is that? One celeb has turned up. Who? What did he say, Dad? Dad? Who is Leapy Lee?
For those of you under the age of 50.
Oh, even so, no. Even if you are nobody, even you and I. Tell them who Leapy Lee was.
Leapy Lee had a very minor hit.
The Hubble Space Telescope will be required to find it.
Little arrows in your clothing, little arrows in your hair. Oh, little arrows,
hit you everywhere.
It's a pretty good song, but Leapy now lives in Spain. He does okay on the back of that one record, but Leapy...
Dad didn't speak. He couldn't. Winded by the sucker punch, having forked out half a week's pay for the tickets and the other half on refreshments, and now wondering if it was safe for us to leave on the terrace with our Aztec Mars with raisins, it says in brackets, while he slipped in for a swift, light and bitter. Never knew who Leapy Lee was, and nor do I.
Give us it over, I've explained who the Lee is. So they were promised...
Little arrows, that was his hit, wasn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, we apologise for the indisposition of the advertised artists. Pele, George Best, Dennis Law, Blue Peter's Peter Purvis, TV's Dick Emery, from the charts Cilla Black, from the charts the Tremolos John Wayne, and lover of all things animated Rupert Bear. Again, we apologise. However, we have got Leapy Lee. Leapy Lee! Oh, man. Now we've got to find out who...
And now it's setting off another thing. I'm never going to be able to watch Spurs again without thinking of it, because, of course, young Pioli, who plays left back for Spurs, he has on his shirt YP Lee. Everyone calls him Wipey.
Leapy.
There's now Leapy Lee, isn't
but keep it as Wipey, because Leapy Lee, Wipey Lee.
Leapy Lee.
What do you think you mentioned there, and again on the other programme, the All Day Breakfast Show, when we do, and this is apropos nothing, but it might just make people suck on a thoughtful tooth. confection. You mentioned Mars bars there.
Aztec bars.
Yeah.
Infamous.
In confection is the last of the great gentleman's agreement in commerce. We found this out this week because we've got a sweet shop open there. People can take one of every brand, but don't need to know that. But in confection, they never copy each other's designs. As soon as you come up with a Mars bar, the opposition, Roundtrees or Cadbury's, will say, "Oh, well done."
Really?
What do you think about it?
No, I hear you.
There's one Milky Way. Nobody ever did it.
One Aero.
In any other line of business, as soon as something, look at television, somebody brings that out, everyone copies it. But in sweet shops, there's only one of everything. They brought out Smarties. You thought the opposition would have said
M&Ms.
We're having some. M&Ms are not Smarties. It's the American version of them. Right. But otherwise, it's an absolute gentleman's agreement. And if you were to say, well, we won't do it here, we'll have a version of it. But the other place, we've opened it as a sweet shop with one of every sweet on the shelves. And if you go there, you can say, I'll have that one, and nobody else can have it. There's only one left of each sweet in the world on the other shelf.
And just, again, apropos nothing, I was watching a documentary the other day, need to say about the patent office. And to illustrate various patents, the girl reporter, whose name will escape me forever because I didn't care, produced a patent for Aero. There was a guy working for Cadbury's, I guess, or Cadbury's, down in Bourneville, and there it is. How to aerate the chocolate, and there it was.
And that say nobody can copy it after that. The gentleman's agreement. You're listening to the Baker and Kelly football show, by the way. But Danny and I don't see each other all week, so forgive some of the highways and byways of it. Right, stabbed in the back. I've got here. Let me get me stabbed in the back music going. Here we go. Why didn't I bring in Bohemian Rhapsody? You told us to, and I just presumed it was on this thing. Here we go. Stabbed in the back. A couple of years ago. This is from Dan Hine. By the end of this, I want to find out who Dan Hine should be introduced to at our party. Okay. A couple of years ago, England were playing at Old Trafford against Greece in a must-win game. I don't remember that game, Alex, do you? Yeah, that's all right. Alex Constantine.
He's wearing a Scotland shirt from the centenary. It's pink today.
I know, he's wearing his Scotch shirt. But anyway, a couple of years ago, England were playing at Old Trafford against Greece in a must-win game, made famous by Beckham's last-minute free kick. With tickets having sold out long ago, my friend and me headed into Manchester to soak up some of the pre-match atmosphere and then look for a good pub to watch it in. Having found a pub full of fans, the Square Albert in Albert Square, is there a Square Albert in Albert Square? We made our way to the packed bar. As we were elbowing our way to the bar, the lad next to me starts up a conversation and asked if I was going to a match. No, I haven't. No chance of a ticket, so I'm going to have a few pints and take in the town atmosphere. Well, the lad replies, I've got a spare if you want it, and you can have it face value. In a flash, I said, thanks anyway, mate, but there's two of us, so I don't know what to do. Just as the word so is leaving my mouth, an arm reaches over me and says, I'll have it, and takes the ticket out of my hand. I turn round, and of course, my friend had stood there looking at his newly acquired ticket, barely able to look under his eyebrows at me, pleased as punch. What you doing? I said to him. What am I doing? He said, giving me the steely glare. I'm going to the match, Dan. Get in, he says, and turns and walks out. I didn't even bother to remonstrate with him. If you're that quick to dump your mates, there's no words to be found that would have actually made him realise how out of order this is. So you know what I did? I congratulated him. Good luck, I said. Well done. And we arranged to meet after the match. Not that I'm still bothered about it years later. Oh no, that's not true. How about that? His hand over his shoulder. He said, I'm afraid there is two of us and that. By the way, you mentioned there the Square Albert in Albert Square. Do you know Chris Squire of Yes? And this is not a joke. Do you know what his new album's called? He lives in Europe now, and he's got this choir. And his new album is called...
Go on.
Chris Squire, Swiss Choir. Yes, it is! Yes, it is! Chris Squire, Swiss Choir.
To which we can add... sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Andy.
This is Andy from
there you go. Andy, go on.
Just read out what you've written there,
okay.
Andy.
Dan Hine, Brian Kilcline.
Yeah, there you go. Dear old friend of the show, of course. Dear old friend of the show. So who's the worst striker at Tottenham?
There's no bad strikers at Tottenham. They're all good. It's so unfortunate, isn't it? They're all really brilliant.
Who can't get a game? Who couldn't count?
Defoe, Ben.
Defoe there, yeah, Defoe. Okay, so I understand you offered a copy of Open Goal to Defoe there, and he said, I'm from Open Goal magazine. Was sold outside every Premier League ground. He said, oh, I must have missed that. Thank you very much indeed. There you go. It's all right. But now I've got the music. There is no stopping. What are you saying?
Sorry, you just picked on the one part. There are no bad strikers at Tottenham. It's a proud boast, isn't it? A proud boast.
You know, and see how I swallowed it. I thought, all right, well, if he says so, because otherwise, now you've won 2 games on the trot. Who am I to cross you? I want
to link these two together. And who knew they would ever return? Get your Cuckoo. Have you got your Cuckoo music handy?
Cuckoo sound effect. I'll find it.
Right, here we go. Who knew we'd ever return to pies? But here we go. I can only assume, says Peter Pearce, you're not taking any more entries regarding any more pies.
No, everything.
Everything is open. I thought I'd tell you this, though, as it brought a smirk to my face. Yeah. I'm a regular listener to the podcast, travelling at weekends to Chichester, where groups of us huddle around a laptop and listen to your musings.
Well, stop doing it. Each of you listen and it sends the figures up.
Any more pie has become a regular feature in many of our lives, and any excuse to flummox a young cashier in Tyrac, for example.
Of course.
Now, my father is a man with a very loose grip on popular culture, and watched me reel off my collated list of pies and asked what the hell I was doing. I offered a brief but very clear explanation, and then played him the original podcast featuring Danny Kelly's list of 8 or 9 any more pies.
Yes, any more. Maybe at this point, then you should, just for Lou listen, say, well, what is any more pie?
Well, just exactly. Way back in the mists of time. Jeff Astle, the now dead, I'm afraid, but the legendary England and West Bromwich Albion striker, we had an email about him, or a phone call actually, at a charity dinner where he sat back and ate his fill of said confection, and then called the waiter over, fairly airily, and said, "Excuse me, any more pie?" to which has been added anything. I mean, the lady, you go into Tyrac and you say, "Any more pie?"
And as we know, Virgin Media, you would knock on the door there and say, "Any more Sky?"
And so on, and so on, and so on. So he's now read out a list of 8 or 9 of these, any more eyes, which you would have thought, says Peter, would make clear the whole thing up. So my dad went away, thought about it, came back, and with a proud smirk on his face, as he so often does, and offered, "Val Dunican, any more sweaters?" It gets worse, of course, it gets worse. I couldn't believe it. I berated him for 10 minutes. He's now shouting at an old man, right?
Any more sweaters?
Only for him to return 20 minutes later to offer this. Now, this is based on a recent tragedy, so I'll just say it. His father goes away. Now the penny has dropped. Any more sweaters doesn't work. Colin McRae, any more fly?
No!
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Write it on the list, though.
Mark Bradell. I'm putting in Mark Bradell's ones because they are superbly brilliant, including one of the best ones ever. And then what he says after that, I must get these in.
When you do it, then I have to give it the full because I can read these out, and okay, they're fine. Yeah. Everyone knows it is your intonation of the IE part of it that works. So, ladies and gentlemen, the latest in the long line and proud history of Any More Pie. One second, then I'll give it. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Kelly brings you.
I'm working up to the good ones here, so bear with me. We're going to start with some good ones and work out some very good ones from Mark Bradell, who says, Alan Freeman in his Brentford nylon days. Any more Bry? The National Health Service.
That's just shocking.
The National Health Service. Any more E. coli? Sir David Lean. Any more Quai? Now, here we go now. Ron Eli, 60s TV Tarzan. Any more Jai? Jai, his sidekick. Any more Ron Eli? But best of all in this current batch, thank you, Mark, for this. All right, anyone deep fat frying in the 1970s? Any more Spry, crisp and dry?
Well done.
Wait for this,
well done. Any more Spry, crisp and dry?
Any more Spry, crisp and dry? And finally, to hopefully add to your collection of singers' cuckoos, last week Danny played Frank Sinatra singing Cuckoo 3 different ways.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Dan, that is nothing compared to the lengths that popular music groups, that was a lot of sibilants there, popular music groups will go to.
Certainly no football elements to any of it.
Will go to, the lengths they will go to in order to get the cuckoo noise right.
Okay.
Mark Bradell adds this. Finally, to add to your collection of singers' cuckoos, I would like to think you should play Marillion, and you and I are not going to play Marillion, are we?
No.
Their song Uninvited Guest, where you will hear Steve Hogarth sing the word more than once, and better still, the track ends with a cuckoo's call. Okay, so far so good. Mm-hmm. In live versions of Uninvited Guest, Steve used a sort of white harmonic glove which was programmed to play certain synthesizer sounds depending on what he touched.
Oh, Marillion were way ahead, weren't they?
On the DVD, the cuckoo call is triggered by him pressing the end of a cricket bat handle. He walks over with his electronic glove, presses a cricket bat handle, and it goes cuckoo, cuckoo.
Yeah, so I've got the cuckoo effect with us, but I haven't got the Frank Sinatra one with us. And Marillion man used to do that live and on the stage?
Oh, it's DVD to prove it,
Way ahead, way ahead. Well, thank you very much indeed, our correspondent. Mark Riddell, thank you very much indeed.
Anyway, everyone got any more spry, but then crisp and dry.
We've had Chris hanging on the phone for a million years. I apologise, Chris. How comes our phones have gone up in the air again? They've all gone up in the air again. Doesn't matter, Chris, I appreciate you hanging on more than you know. Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon, Danny. And Danny.
Thank you very much. What do you got for us, Chris?
Well, the nearest subject I could find on the list was going to a match despite being really unwell.
No, I don't want to put any kind of pressure on your story and all of this, but when we did this years ago, this story, a fellow, do you remember, who was in cancer remission, had tubes hanging out of his chest and actually went and played a game in the morning and saw a game in the afternoon. He's the absolute Hercules of
and
this.
Somebody going to the 1987 Cup final between Tottenham and Coventry with his three mates died in the car.
Yes, he did.
And they left him in the car park at Wembley Park and watched the match.
Yes, they did, and I know this seems like extreme, but we had the documentation to back it up, and here we go now with the latest in this canon from our friend Chris. Chris F. Off you go, Chris.
I'm not going to beat that, but...
It doesn't matter, no, it all adds to the tapestry. Go on.
This is back in 87, 88, when I was about 8, I was 8, I think, at the time. I was given a Charlton kit and an invitation to be a mascot at a home game.
Oh, okay.
And I had no idea what it meant, but it was the days when being a mascot wasn't dressing up as a lion or whatever, running out onto the pitch. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was phoned by my uncle to get some information for the programme about my obsession with the club.
All right.
And one of the questions I was asked was, who is your favourite player? And I knew the answer. It was Robert Lee. Mm-hmm. But that evening, for some reason, my mind was blank.
Oh, man, okay.
And I couldn't remember any of the players' names.
Robert Lee, McLeapy Lee.
Robert Leapy Lee, yeah. But you know it is, you're under pressure. How old are you?
I was 8.
You're 8, you're 8. Of course, a classic age for minds going blank.
Yeah.
Any easiest
8
question?
And 88, those are the big ones.
And who's your favourite player? And the wind just blows through. So there it is, and you can't remember.
We had legends at the time. We had Garth Crooks and Carl Lieberman and Bob Boulder, and I couldn't remember any of them.
No, none of them, no, okay.
And I eventually managed to burble something out about Peter Reid. And I was asked if I meant Mark Reid, and I kind of just stumbled through a yes, that'll do.
Oh dear. Even by the standards of Charlton Athletic, this is pathetic.
A shaking...
Charlton Athletic, he's pathetic.
A shaking, quaking 8-year-old.
I got better as the years went on. But the morning of the match came round, and this is when we were playing at Selhurst Park. And it was obviously a massive match for us against Oxford United.
Huge. I can't think of a bigger fixture.
And I was, that morning, I turned up and I was thin, I was pale, I was shaking like a leaf because I'd been physically sick because I was so scared the night before.
Oh, well, I've got to say, I mean, I can remember these things. My son used to, on big occasions, get overwhelmed, not just with nerves, but just genuine, a physical illness. Christmas time, birthdays, something like that. Home games against Oxford United.
Yeah.
But so you were absolutely all over the place, yeah?
Yes, I looked a bit like a skeleton dressed in a red and white kit, and I was introduced to all the players in the dressing room, and I think to say I ran out on the pitch with the captain is a bit misleading. I kind of staggered on at pace and kind of managed to wander over to the centre, and I was introduced to my favourite player, Mark Reid.
Okay, Mark Reid, yes. You didn't recognise, yeah.
Without realising who he was, and then realised that my actual favourite player was the other side of the pitch kicking a ball around with a couple of other guys. Mm-hmm. But I spent 10 minutes or so kicking the ball around with Mark Reid and a couple of other players.
You had strength in your leg to kick the ball back, or did it just sort of roll about 3 times, I'll bet?
That's a bit of an exaggeration as well.
So Reid must have been delighted to have been the centre of someone's attention, Well, in a team full of Charlton legends.
I had 2 or 3 shots, if that's what you can call them, at Bob Boulder as well, so I had a go. And I had my photo taken on the centre spot with the captains and the ref, and I was sent off to the stands to see the match.
And so you think, well, I've got away with that, that's fine, okay, it's all over.
I was really excited about the match, because the last one I'd seen, we'd beaten Sheffield Wednesday 3-1, Garth Crooks had scored a hat-trick. I was looking forward to a great match, and it was one of the most boring matches I've ever been
to. There's no reflection upon you. I'm sure they didn't turn around and go, you hope you're pleased with this. They didn't. Nobody ought you, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any memories except for a shaky cine film that was taken from the stands by my uncle, and this one photo of me looking like I'm about to keel over in the centre circle.
After the game, did you feel I should have made more of that? You know, what was the matter with me? Did the malaise lift from you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, a bit, and which I wasn't ashamed, but I felt like I'd missed out a bit.
But it sounds very confessional. How many times in your life have you had a chance to sit down on someone and say, you probably wonder why I'm a bit withdrawn and it takes me a while to get to know people. Here's my story. Is this cathartic?
Well, it turned out to be fairly cathartic because 6 years later, I got a nice little postscript to the story.
Yeah.
And I was playing cricket for a local village side on a Saturday, and we got a last-minute fixture with a team from South London called Downham and Bellingham.
I know Downham and Bellingham. They're very close to where I live. Yeah.
They turned up with two players that I recognised. One of them was Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Who was a former Charlton player, and at the time he was the groundsman at the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And
I believe Dennis Howell was the sports minister at the time. No. Okay, sorry. Yeah, carry on. Yes.
The other one was their star strike bowler, who was Steve Gritt himself, so the captain that I met on that day.
Yeah.
Was playing, and he turned up. He was the manager at the time with Kirby's.
Yeah. And you're not going to tell me they narrowed their eyes and went, "You're the sickly kid, ain't you?" They didn't. You got a chance to make it up, did you?
I did. As is usual, we went to the pub after the game, and after.
Hang on, didn't you say this was a year later?
No, 6 years.
Oh, well, even so, 14. You went to the pub after the game.
London,
yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, and did you tell him your tale?
I did. We had a chat about the refereeing at the World Cup, which we're all horrified with.
Yeah.
And then one of my mates told him that I'd been a mascot when he was the captain, and he asked for the details, and I got as far as saying April 1988, Oxford United, and he interrupted me and said, "I remember that. It was horrible."
The most notorious fixture in Charlton's history, and you represented it.
He had an incredibly detailed memory of the game.
And you say you've got mementos of it still.
I've got a photo and
we need them for the website.
I will find the photo for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and the photo's the only remnant. That's all there is.
Not a cine film. Shaky cine
hang on,
film.
give us it over, Dan. I didn't know we had it with us.
No, I haven't got it.
Oh man! Ew.
There's one other memento.
Should that be hanging from your nose? Oh man, alive! You look like you just crawled out of the tomb. Yeah. What's the other memento?
It was while we were in the pub. I plucked up the courage to ask him to sign something.
Yes.
And he said, "I can do better than that. I might have one photo left in my car."
Oh yeah.
He went and he came back with a signed photo a few minutes later, and I was chuffed for months until it dawned on me that he probably had a box of them in his car.
You don't think? Oh, you bet he did. Well, that's our first story we've ever had, I think, of mascotting come to full estate of man. Thank you very much, my friend. That was Chris. But if you've got any, what is it like to do that? Not in the modern way where they pay for it, but when you used to run out, because do players ever kick the ball at you? Do you feel that you're a nuisance? If anyone is now a fully grown man who
and if you're as traumatised as our friend there, by all means.
Shocking thing. He represented the worst game in history.
After a 10-minute kickabout with a player he didn't recognise.
And did the crowd always welcome the mascot? Because I know, I'll use the word, our famous word, tugboat here. But it's standing in for the very worst swear word.
Whoa.
The very worst swear word. Peter Nyko, my mate, took great glee in giving the ball boys and the mascots a jib. And he used to get big laughs because as soon as everyone realised, oh, I get it, that's your shtick, is it? And he's one of us, he's still with us, he's one of our good friends. But he'd stand with his arms folded and there was no dog track or any kind of moat around Millwall's old ground. It was only like 2 feet, 1.5 feet from the touchline to the wall. So there wasn't much for the ball boys to do. But even in that few nanoseconds it took for them to get the ball and throw it back to the player, he would always shout out, "Hurry up, you little tugboat!" And he didn't say tugboat, always. Hurry, always, as soon as they turned their back to go.
That was Millwall, wasn't it?
Hurry up, you little tug. And he used to get this big laugh, and the kid would look up at the crowd, but I'm on your side. One more then, what you got?
Phil, how much more time we got?
Yeah, go on, all right.
Okay, well, in view of the fact a lot of people will be listening to this, I hope, on the Friday we record it, before the Russia and Israel match, and therefore I'm really interested to Paul McElroy, who clearly has plenty of time on his hands, and you know our traditional thing of teams translated as other things.
Oh yes, of course.
Sometimes
we're very sparing with these now because it overwhelmed us at one point. Teams, you take the squad numbers and you apply it to something else in life.
Absolutely, and this is in honour of, and I'm not going to wear the little skull cap that always sits in the studio for some reason over
the little
there.
yarmulke. Yeah.
In view of the importance of the game between Russia and Israel, our friend Paul has done the current England team in their numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Where did he get matched up to Newsweek's list of the world's 50 most influential rabbis?
Whoa! Okay, now hang on, just let me run that by me again. We are doing.
We're going to the current England team, as matched up number by number
to the
with
world?
Newsweek's list of the world's 50 most influential rabbis.
Okay.
And what's great about this is the brackets at the end of their names. Number 1, Paul Robinson. Rabbi Marvin Heer, Orthodox. Number 2, Micah Richards. Rabbi Yehuda Krinsky, Lubavitch. Number 5, Rio Ferdinand. Rabbi Harold Kushner, Conservative. Number 6, Sol Campbell. Rabbi David Ellison, Reform. Number 7, Jolien Lescott. Rabbi Yuri D. Hirscher, Reform. Number 8, Sean Wright Phillips. Rabbi Erwin Kula, Conservative. Number 4, Stephen Gerrard. Rabbi Yehuda Berg, Orthodox. Number 7, Gareth Barry. Rabbi Robert Wexler, Conservative. Number 11, Joe Cole. Rabbi Peter J. Rubenstein, Reform. Number 9, Wayne Rooney. Rabbi Shmuley Botich, Orthodox.
Come on, one more time for that.
Rabbi Shmuley Botich. And finally, Michael Owen. Number 10, Rabbi M. Bruce Lustig, Reform.
Wow, who sent us that again?
Oh, Paul McElroy.
Well done, Paul. Thank you so much for that. That's terrific.
I was disappointed that Phil Neville didn't get in the team. Otherwise, we could have had Rabbi David Saperstein as well.
What a tour. We've got to say, we're all fully behind the Israeli squad as they go towards it. I fancy it. I fancy it. From this distance, I fancy it. I think the Russians are swaggering a little bit too much.
I just think every time anyone from the Israeli camp, journalists, players, officials, get asked about how much they're going to try, there's far too much eye-rolling in response to the question, as if to say, how much do you think we're going to try?
All right, any more try?
The last time England were in this position, where they were relying on someone else, was, as you know, famously, is 23 years since they didn't qualify. Who let us down? Greece.
Oh, was it Greece?
Oh, Greece.
Get in here. By the way, Alex, get in here. Can Alex come in there for a second? Alex, Alex Continue, he brings in several subjects. And you emailed said, I've got a couple of 3 things, should we get time this week? Get to the microphone over there. He's had to go back out to get his notes.
The quality of production.
He's going back out for his bag of props. Okay.
He thought they were Scottish. He's wearing the pink Scottish centenary jersey.
You're not going to do that, because it doesn't work on the radio. I know you ran it by me. You said, look,
incidentally,
he's got a whole routine about, have you ever noticed how funny some of the lower league footballers' wives walk? I said, it's not going to work on the radio, so you've got other stuff.
The Alex's announcement last week that he's threatening to support Norwich, having been a lifelong
that was an extraordinary revelation.
People have been ringing the show saying, got to stop that kind of thing. It's not proper football and all the rest of it.
No.
Have you been threatened personally?
Yep, people have been spitting at him in the streets, everything.
I bet on websites people are really putting you through it, aren't they?
They are, but I don't know what all the fuss is about, to be perfectly honest.
Yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do.
I feel as a fan, I should command a transfer fee as well if I want to change clubs.
That's a great thing.
Of course I should.
That'd be a great. There
you go. Yeah, why shouldn't I?
But it obviously had a terrible effect on the team last week, like that news, didn't it?
Yeah, I think.
That was too funny, wasn't it?
And also, Ola will vouch for me. Ever since I left last week, I've been ill as well, and Ipswich won 6-0. Yeah.
The well is poisoned.
Have you got any closer down here? You're wearing a claret and blue hat. Don't tell me that. There are limits around my area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I won't be. Although people have been emailing with some
Is it
teams.
Scunthorpe, that? Is it Scunthorpe?
Could be. You never know.
Emailing with what?
With teams who I can be supporting now. Leighton Orient, I'm swinging towards.
Why do people go? Leighton Orient and QPR, as I've often said, are like the dear old aunts of London. You can't feel one way or the other about them. And everyone I kind of know is not really, they may have water for blood. They support either of those, with all due disrespect to both teams. It just doesn't seem like, it just seems like it's an anodyne option. Come on, plunge in it. As you say, Norwich, then we were talking. Leighton Orient, the other extreme, who cares? So go on, what have we got in
Don't think of Papa Leighton Orient now. Where is his fish gun?
Go on, what will be? What is your, because if you are going to go to Norwich, a lot of people are going to say, "Where's my lucky stoning hat?"
I've been thinking carefully about it. It won't be any Premiership clubs, that's for sure. Norwich, the door is still open.
Why not?
I just no.
You've been down that road.
Yeah, Norwich, the door is still open. If they want to contact us, I'm willing. Leighton Orient, yeah, I quite see myself as a Leighton Orient fan. They're local.
What are you setting yourself up for? Just a run of bumbling around the lower divisions. Nobody wants that. Yeah, I mean, what about the Den? Let them come.
Yeah.
No one likes you. Let's face it. You can fit right in.
Millwall. I don't mind Millwall as well.
No, you can't.
Are you prepared to abuse ball boys?
You don't say it right. That's why. Millwall. It's accent on the second syllable. Then you know if someone's a real supporter. So anyway, what have you brought to the table this week?
I want to put forward the club with the harshest fans.
Well, that
book is closed.
That book is closed.
We've already been through Tugboat and the 8-year-old ball boys.
Hurry up, you little. Oh no, hang on. No, we can bleep that. Yeah. We will bleep that.
What about the thing you were going to do the other week, the smallest insignia? I was fascinated with that.
Oh yeah, I've got that outside. Next week we'll do that.
All right.
Go on, who is the club with the harshest?
The 2.5 pint bottle of Red Bull has got to your head now, hasn't it?
I was looking at the little kid who makes the tea here. I was actually put up with his mic. Yeah, go on, what?
Crystal Palace. And I'll explain why.
The harshest? You mean the softest?
Crystal Palace? You can always hear the knitting needles clacking, drowning out the players' shouts.
As you know, they turned on Peter Taylor. Yeah. And that led to him leaving.
Yeah.
Incidentally, is that the greatest fall from grace? England manager, Palace, Hull, now at Stevenage in 4 moves?
I suppose so. I suppose so. Yeah. It's pretty much like that. So, of course, Walter Winterbottom's dead.
Yeah.
He'd be the first to admit it.
And then Hoddle is struggling for words on Sky. So,
yeah, he is. Yeah.
So they turned on him, and he had to leave. They've turned on some of the players, Shefki Cuckoo among them.
Cuckoo. Well, no, give me warning of that sort of thing. I've got it all here.
Who's now at Fulham, and now they've started turning on the half-time entertainment.
Well, okay, all right. Well, you've got to come up to well, my mate Peter Nyko. Go on.
First of all, they started booing a Freddie Mercury tribute band.
Oh.
Okay, and the following home game, they started having a go at some religious rappers.
Freddie Mercury tribute band, religious. This is the gayest half-time entertainment. No disrespect.
And you mentioned earlier about the good people at Wix.
How do you know they turned on them?
I've got it here.
All right. Okay.
Don't question my genius.
But I don't suspect there's one act that's ever took to the turf that's got off scot-free, is there?
No.
Can't be.
The police dogs at half-time, back in my childhood memory at Tottenham, that was good. No one booed them.
Actually, well, I suppose so. And the half-time penalties thing kind of get when the kids are about 8 or not. No, actually, I've got bad memories of that as well. Go on.
And when we know from a previous show, don't we, that one particular was Everton fans. As the kid who was how should we put it, luxuriously upholstered as he ran towards the penalty spot to kick the ball, they shouted, "Fat boy, fat boy, fat boy, fat boy!"
Yeah, so he did.
Until he cried.
And what about? And we can carry on in a minute, Alex. What about when the only time I ever saw backstage, as they say at the Old Den, when I was about 9 or 10, and I was down the front. And in those days, they used to take a blanket around and collect for the St John's ambulance at half time, and people were encouraged to throw their coins towards the blanket and collect them.
Those were the days.
And I turned, and one hit me above the eyebrow, which closed my eye within 9 seconds. A lot less eye, and it was my eye. And I remember feeling it and panicking and screaming and shouting, and they lifted me over the heads and they put me on a stretcher. And as I was taken around, people were lobbing money towards the stretcher as well. They figured it was some kind of, this is the kind of work we do. Keep throwing.
People were throwing money. You're the opposite to this podcast.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Alex. We've took Talks Act again.
I was just going to say, it's no surprise that the Palace fans are angry with the half-time entertainment if you find out what they've been used to. Like I mentioned earlier, they've had this Wix-sponsored thing at half-time whereby a game of 2 barbs, it's called, and fans have to kick footballs into a couple of barbs.
That's great.
That's what it says on the tin.
Really hard.
And that followed On My Shed Son, which involved fans trying to chip balls into a shed.
That's inspired. I would fancy a couple of games.
Anything to do with shed. And of course, we've heard about a television shed today. I'm building one.
The but that seems halfway inspired. The only thing they should improve that with is some kind of beach ball entertainment, because we know the idea of playing with a beach ball is just so lewd. Every time you go to the coast, say, "Anyone want a ball? We'll go and buy one." Go into one of them seaside shops down at Dymchurch or wherever your local coast is, and you end up taking down from the top a beach ball. We'll play with this, but as we know, the
town of Dymchurch, either all church.
But as you know, the harder you kick a beach ball, the more it goes over your shoulder. And I would like to see beach ball football at half-time played with a real beach ball and ex-professional footballers.
Unlike, I mean, we used to love the Masters soccer when the old boys with the big tummies used to get out and
once
play.
a master, wasn't it?
Well, always a master.
Yeah.
And within 3 years, they ruined that by getting serious. Beach football with international players playing beach. That's in 2 minutes has gone from being a bit of a laugh. Now there's a proper World Cup, and they're taking it seriously and volleying it and all the rest of it.
Games and all that. Do you know England's got a beach ball team?
Yeah.
We
beach football or beach ball?
Beach football team that we enter on tournaments and all that.
Who's in it?
No, but I don't know. Where do they train? I mean, where? At this time of year, where are they getting the training in? It's obviously before they go at work, which must be nice, but they came fourth apparently in Greece. We'll get the fellas on the phone one of these weeks. So any other business?
That's it for this week. Next week is the big one.
But the Bohemian Rhapsody. I apologise for not paying more attention to that and chumming the line and then not delivering. Well, that's it. We're virtually out of time. I know. Again, having made the boast earlier on, what have we got here? Let me do this. Things seen at football matches more entertaining than the game. This comes from James Cook. Thank you, James. About 5 years ago at Aston Villa, we were taking on Newcastle in a game that meant nothing. As opposed to anyway. As this was during the Doug Ellis era, everyone was given A4 pieces of paper with pound signs printed on them outside the ground by some of the supporters groups. The idea before kickoff would all hold up the pound signs, and this would somehow achieve something. It's just he's got a full stop then. Achieve something. And wouldn't you know it, just 5 years later, he sold the club. Take that, Ellis. Pretty much everyone in the whole end did as suggested, but the fun really started when the obligatory paper aeroplane contest began 20 minutes into the game. Attempts fired out of the lower and upper halt. Most of it didn't make its way out of the stand. One or two got as far as the advertising hoarding, but the play up at the other end of the pitch, the greatest paper plane ever constructed by a human, glided effortlessly from the upper halt end. Maybe it was the construction, maybe it was just luck, but this plane really could fly. 10,000 pairs of eyes were transfixed as it sailed high over the hoardings, over the goal and David James, until it finally landed, not crashed, landed just outside of the 18-yard box. It got the biggest round of applause I heard all season. We've never found out who built it, but if you are listening, I would like to say thank you for providing a highlight of another turgid Villa performance. Yeah, that's great. And rounds of applause in grounds for things other than the game. I would love to hear.
Absolutely, and we need to give out the address. We've not done it once in the whole show.
And my son's back from America now, which means there is movement on the website, and it's www.bakerandkelly.com, and it is good, and the subjects are there, and if they don't make sense as subjects, just, anything you feel may entertain the little treehouse up here, then do that.
And that explains why, to this day, Aston Villa fans still throw paper planes on. I had no idea that was the genesis
of it. Trying to beat that 18-yard line.
And all I'll do to wind up is to return to the top of the show, proper bookends, that picture of the Sunderland fan with any more magpie.
Thank you very much indeed, Phil Wilding, without whom, and of course Alex Constantino over there and the various others lurking around. Thank you very much, everyone. We're back next week. We're going to start doing these twice a week as soon as someone gives us a red shekel for doing it. When you think about all these wretches out there earning bundles, what are you saying? Is that?
No, just keep those ones. They're pure gold.
Oh, the ones we did. Now, everything gets used, and if you feel we've overlooked something, then email back and say, wait, you need this because...
You're allowed to shout at us, that's cool.
Exactly, and remind us how good your emails are. I'll remind you again, it's... what is the actual email address? It's no, that's the other one. Oh, there it is. bakerandkelly@whippit.com, WIPPIT.com. Baker and Kelly, all one word. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. I've been Danny Baker,
and I've been Danny Kelly.
There's no more.
To hear more from Danny Baker, subscribe to the all-new All Day Breakfast Show in color on iTunes.